Hello, welcome back to another episode of Just Me with your friend Kevin. Heading out on my typical lunch day loop. Got an hour to spare. No more, no less. You can see this loop heads north, starting just north of Oxford Street in the Hunters Park neighborhood, just north of the Montessori School of Duluth. And we're headed down here, taking a left on Sparkman Avenue, very small avenue. Riding my mountain bike today. This first little trip heads between the two cemeteries in the Woodland neighborhood. Taking a right on the Vermilion here. You can find a link to me going down Downers Park coming up later. But yes, this is the Hunters Park neighborhood, and this trip will be on the mountain bike, doing my workday loop, and working my way up Vermilion Road, just swinging by Park Hill Cemetery on our right hand side. Park Hill Cemetery is where the cemetery marker, the graveyard that has the grave of the last Union Civil War veteran. His name was Albert Wolson. Also, the graves of the lynching victims who are memorialized downtown Duluth: Clayton Jackson and McGee, Elias Clayton, Elmer Jackson, and Isaac McGee, are all buried, and their graves here at this cemetery to my right. And we're soon approaching the peak of this incline. On the left-hand side, we've got another cemetery as we start our descent. You gotta watch yourself a little bit on these descents on these gravel roads, because some days there certainly can be some ripples in the road. There's a little culvert at the very end of that dip, which can be a problem on spring rides, but not in this beautiful day. On the left-hand side is Forest Hill Cemetery Park, or Forest Hill Cemetery. The Congdon family is buried there, the Allworths, and the Bagleys. These are all kind of old school Duluth luminaries buried in that cemetery. Also buried there is Oscar G. Olson. That's pretty interesting. After having just gone by the cemetery on the right-hand side where Clayton Jackson McGee were, on the left-hand side, one of the police chief of that was involved in that lynch mob incident is buried there, and created a little distraction for me here as I had to read up on Oscar G. Olson. He was the police officer in charge of the jail on the night of the Clayton Jackson McGee lynch mob incident. Tried his best, it sounds like, to keep the mob at bay. Interesting story to look up, nonetheless, for those interested in Duluth history. But on the left-hand side, we have Downer Park. I got a video, like I said, up already from my October 4th ride that went through Downer Park. Got a lot of different fun offshoots there, and also great for hiking in the wintertime. And to the right, just leaving the cemetery over there, the Park Hill Cemetery in Hunters Park, emerging on the right hand side. Right over here to the left is that trail that heads to, as well as to the right. We've got a couple videos that will point you towards, you can take some of those trails. But today it looks like we're taking the Morningside Trail, the mountain bike trail. Thanks to Cogs for their work putting these trails together. This is a very typical work day, like I said, and did ride this trail on October 4th. Today we're gonna just go to the end of the Morningside Trail, take a U-turn, head back, and then check out some of those Hunters Park trails, and then it's back home. It was much more of a cloudy day here in Duluth, Minnesota on this October 20th. It was right around the noon hour where there was the highs of that day were around the 60s, which is again an abnormally warm day. Even though it looks like it might rain here, I don't think it rained at all. You do see a lot of the leaves missing from the trees here compared to my last trip through here. As you go through these, this is a very much, like I mentioned in my last video, a very much up and down flowy trail. Great for beginners. Have taken it uphill with my gravel bike before. Wouldn't recommend it, but if you need to get from point A to point B, there's just a few spots you would probably need to dismount, and they're mostly on this side of the trail that I'm on right now, the north side of the trail. Here I am going southbound towards the lake from Vermilion Road on the Morningside Trail. Really great. They do a really great job, Cogs does, of those wooded bridges, building there the lips for them. There's some days, some trails that you could go on where you have some big bumps to get up on those bridges, but this Morningside Trail, Stuart does an amazing job of always making sure that those lips are easy to manage, especially for us green novice mountain bike enthusiasts. The flow of this trail is just divine. Love how it just kind of goes up and down and left and right. Can often find a lot of interesting mushrooms here at certain seasons. Some chanterelles are easy to come by, more so in the Lester Park area, but I've seen some here. A lot of chicken of the woods. Kind of getting into a little more open area. Right over here to your right, we just passed it on the right. There's a little, I think that's where the city goes and dumps snow in the wintertime. They just pack it up there and make that hill taller and taller. There's another one of those beautiful bridges. Got a good shot of that one. Start a pretty quick descent here, and we're really cruising now. Love the speed with this part of the trail. Got some signage here because it does intersect with a Superior Hiking Trail spur trail, so don't very often see very many pedestrians out here. Much more often to run into a mountain biker. But usually you can occasionally hear some people chatting on the parallel spur trail that occasionally crosses this particular trail. Sometimes some pedestrians might prefer this because there's a little less climbing involved on this. Love this little kind of U-turn that happens here when you're going with friends. It's especially fun to see them. Give them a good wave. This is where the decline really happens. There is a spot over coming up here where there is a little hill built on just to the left of the main trail. But I would definitely make sure you have full suspension for that one. Used to have a hardtail bike and try to hit up that jump. And I was not prepared. Totally wiped out. There's that jump right there. It's kind of a little double dipper. Another indicator of staying on the trail there. Definitely when I first started going on this trail, it was hard to recognize, even though the signs were up, which way the trail is going. And once you actually get on the trail, you can kind of definitely tell which one is the correct one. Here we are back where the trails combine. And then we'll be popped out here in just a little bit onto Duluth Road. It's the last little boardwalk here. And when you are traveling on a day where there might be a lot of people on the trails, or even if you're kind of cruising through here, this little corner, always good to give a good heads up. I've almost run into a few people whipping around. Actually not that corner, it's this last corner coming up here. You can kind of come up blindly in the middle of summer, whip around this corner pretty fast, and it's kind of right where two bottoms of two hills meet there. So very recommend to give a little hey hey ho ho when you're whistling around that corner. And we're coming up here onto Duluth Road. If you do decide to cross this road, do be very careful coming up to it. You get that right hand lane directly over your shoulder. But we're just doing a U-turn here, swinging back through the trail that we just traveled on. Get a good look at it coming from the other direction. But we do hop off the trail and check out some snowmobile trails that often run into some pedestrians out there, some cyclists out there. Mentioned in my last video this little bush, these little areas of thimbleberries. That's what that little green patch was there. Very good to look for late July, early August. Very sweet, dense berry, safe to eat. Must have a very high sugar content because it's very tart, but definitely is a good pick-me-up on a long bike ride. Almost always return on all my trips from Hawk Ridge or Leicester River up this trail, and yeah, there are some days where I'm just dogging it up this hill. Little thimbleberry sounds good. Even just watching this. There are a few parts here that are pretty rocky. You really gotta put your butt into some of these hills heading up on this Morningside trail. Like I said, I've done this before on my gravel bike before I had a mountain bike, and especially the uphill here. very manageable for a green novice rider. Go ahead and cross that spur trail for the SHT there. And coming up on these curves. Taking a look at what some other folks are saying about the Morningside Trail. It's no panoramic over viewpoints, that's fine. It meanders through some pine and maple forests on the east side with aspen and oak forest near the middle. Some lower wetland shrubs on the west end where it skirts a beaver pond along Amity Creek. And we'll check out that little beaver pond. There's it's kind of one of my favorite destinations. Looks like we got someone coming up on the trail here.
Hi. Just me, thank you.
Yeah, I like that the mtbproject.com says that the section is well suited for families riding with little shredders. We're still learning the ropes. We do note that the next section, if you were to not take a U-turn where I did, you'll find another video up where I go down the Hawk Ridge Trail. Not really a good one for brand new beginners, but they do give that a little tip that you can bypass that one pretty easily by going down the Amity River Trail, which I'm sure I'll have a video up very soon about that. Lovely trail. Yes, so we're heading up this hill. Once you start hitting your groove up this hill, you can really get going, because we're about to come up, I believe, on that U-turn. This is the last little section. Got some nice moguls here. Headed up to our turn. So this is where we'll deviate from what we did earlier. This little snowmobile trail. If you had taken a right up there, you would take a snowmobile trail that would eventually intersect with the official Superior Hiking Trail after you cross Vermilion Road. We took a left to our right. All right, as we come into this opening here is that pit where the snow gets put in this. Oh, watch out for this little dip here. You really gotta play that one right. And if you had taken a left there, you would have ended up on Jean Duluth Road. This little hill here through all these tansies. Much different scene at the beginning of the spring when these tansies are matted down. Right here at this time of the season, you can barely even see if someone's coming around that corner. So always really muddy too when you get to the bottom of that hill, and now we're working our way back up. When you take that corner in that tansy pocket, you really got to watch out for the mud as you take that corner. We're gonna cross the creek here, just a little bit to our left. We go alongside the creek. This is in the Hunters Park area, and Hunters Park in Duluth. And a nice little resting spot right to that left there if you wanted to dip your feet in the water on a super hot July day. Definitely done that before. Another little fork in the road there. This is one of those times where you're coming up behind somebody and trying to get the right volume on your warning, but
Sneaking up behind you. I'm sneaking up behind you. Hello. Hello. Hi, sorry. Just me.
and yeah, so excuse me, sir. Getting by you. All right, so there's that little sign there you saw for the snowmobile trail. If you'd taken a left there, You go through an open expanse, big kind of scenic open area. Another little fork in the road right there. You take a left right there. Kind of takes into that same area. Here we're going down into a little dip, and in this area there's quite a few buckthorn. So, and the trees, they do get kind of draping all over the trail. So some of that buckthorn can be a bit nasty. So whenever I'm back here on foot, I'm usually snapping some back away from the trail if I get the chance. This time of year, I'm recording this audio here, December 12th, and now went out for a couple rides out there. I should say some walks out there, since the snow has fallen, and there was some right before Thanksgiving, some trees had fallen onto the trail. They were obstructing the trail for a little bit, but someone must have went out there with a chainsaw, got most of them out of the way. I think there might still be one down, but I'm pretty sure that will get taken care of soon. Just got a couple areas in this section where I hope to show you some other trails that can jut off, because in this section there's actually quite a few different forks in the road that you can take, and really fun, quiet area. I ran into that one pedestrian, but it's very rare to run into anybody on these trails, on foot, on bike. And what we're gonna do is come up to this very rocky part. We're working our way up to this very this section that is very close to Vermilion Road. We're heading kind of a little loop back towards Vermilion Road. I think to the right there is an interesting little open area if you get the chance to explore. It's like a little valley where it might have been a junkyard or something at some time, because you always find some interesting things down there. If you're heading down, where are we now? Okay, here's the very rocky part. Kind of get this very rocky part that leads itself into the downhill section. Still a little bit more up this hill on these very jagged rocks. And now here we go, finally headed towards Downer Park. Very rocky section here, very rooty section, and a very steep section here. This part here, probably not for every mountain bike, not really officially a mountain bike trail. I don't think anybody will have a problem with you biking on that route, but here we come back out. Right in front of us, we've got Downer Park. We've got the Vermilion Road, which we initially traveled down on today's path. Today we're headed back up. Wouldn't normally be doing so many switchbacks, but for this project I really wanted to kind of show off this area front and back. And that section of the Vermilion Road that we just had in front of us, to the left, the city had blown up a beaver dam that had been existing there, almost a pond-like area there. Today on my trip up this hill, I'm walking my bike. I think you could probably understand that, given how rooty and rocky this section is. So we're just going to give you a quick glimpse what you just saw, but looking at it the other way. And so now to our left we have that open area. There's also, up until very recently, a little trail. The trail's still there, a trail that you can take to the left that I got a little video I took on my phone, which I'll probably link to. A little trail to the left that used to have a little tiny little shack that somebody built in the woods there. It was made from a tarp, just a few 4x4s, like some old dresser or something in there. Got the real sky view happening today on the Hunters Park Trail. Really see that those leaves are barren, just the pine trees and the poison ivy left. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here, but we're going along the creek that connects with the beaver pond. And got a little adjustment here, and I think we got the same guy we saw earlier.
Hi.
We got his dog. We got somebody's dog. Oh, yeah, here we go. Just me. That's funny, didn't notice his dog earlier. So we're starting our descent, headed back on these trails to the left. I got a video of the rock crossing to the right. Also got a little video that I'll link to for look at. Oh, it looks like we are taking the rock crossing. Are we just taking a look at it? Are we going out there today? Looks like today we are going to check out the rock crossing. I usually stop here. I got this picture in my camera roll probably 2,000 times. Every time I come here, I like to collect how this area looks, because it's very interesting how this river on this particular day, almost no water in it, could almost ride your bike straight across. But I didn't. Just carrying it. Also useful to have in case you do fall down. Keep that bike available to fall on if you need to. Normally wouldn't ride my bike back here, but to make this video a little bit more interesting, I decided to bring my bike with me. Normally would either lock it up or just set it down. You'd hope and think that you could just leave a bike and a helmet attached without a lock in the middle of the woods, but there was a time where I biked back here and left my helmet with some expensive lights on it, and someone had stolen one of my lights. Don't know why they didn't steal my bike. Thankfully they didn't do that though. But these trails here, we kind of are whipping through these pine trees. This is a very interesting area. I visit back here every chance I get. I wish someone would help me understand this interesting landscape. We've got very mossy floor. We've got a very red tinged soil and lots of pine trees. No other trees in that little area. And then we come out to the beaver pond, take a little look at this beautiful place. Come back here, I've seen great blue heron, seen beavers, otters. That little green spot you see is a little island in the middle of the woods where I really really in the middle of a creek. Someone set up a little swing on it. And right here, someone set a little bench up next to a little fire ring there. But yeah, so interesting. There's maybe a few birch in this little area. I wonder if at some point there was a burn down of this section and some animal or maybe some person brought a bunch of pine cones back here and that's what's popped up. There are pine trees of all sizes you see, very teeny tiny ones. You saw a downed tree to the left and you'll come up on another downed tree. Oh, just saw a little birch tree, but yeah, here's a downed tree. And then here's kind of where the forest turns back to its normal mixed woods special. But yeah, that's a very interesting special area to me. Definitely recommend checking it out. These trees have been down here for as long as I've ever traveled back here. There I go. I feel like probably punching back some buckthorn. Ever vigilant. Here we go, back at the rock crossing, making our way back to the main trail. Carrying that bike across the river. Got the little do not enter gate, and then we're back on our last little home stretch. Oh, do a little 360-degree look at that. So yeah, that's the rock crossing, and yeah, now we're on the last little home stretch, making our way back home. And I'll be curious to see which path we take today. Coming up on a little decision point here. There it is. Looks like we're taking the right. This is a fairly steep hill. If you don't have the proper momentum coming up here, you're gonna have to dismount a day like today. Got to be very careful, especially with all the leaves down. Really be kicking some of those leaves up when you're on that last little stretch. A little fork in the road here too, taking a right into some raspberry bushes. Those raspberry bushes get thick there, and you really got to watch out for some pokes here, some more raspberry bushes that you sneak through. And lots of tansies as well. I'm kind of blasting through some of that stuff that's on the trail. But hey, not going to turn down raspberries if they come your way. Somewhere to your right, we got a little secret little trail. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I'll put up a link to that tiny little trail that's not really a trail. I mean, it probably was a trail at one point. Lots of trees went down, and for true nature lovers, a real great place to feel like you'll never run into anybody. Just the quiet, tranquil woods. It does get pretty thick back here. It gets pretty boggy, some of these sections here as well. That particular section, if this was a spring day, probably would be covered in mud. coming up on a section here where, we got a bunch of wood. Sometimes you get the right groove, you can get across those without stopping. But that small piece there looks like I dismounted to get across it today. And then we come up here. There's a little jut off to the left that you could take if you're looking for a little breaks, because we're about to head up the last hill. Right there is where you take that nice little break. There's a down tree in the woods to the left there that you can have a squat and a sit and drink your water, and then this is the last little breakaway. Yeah, this is the spot where I like to take a break. Usually like to get some kind of song to pump me up here for this last intense climb. Always nice to get the right tunes going before you get moving on these steep inclines. So I stop right there because we got a small descent here to pick up the momentum needed. I love these trees right here. This tree to the left, big pine tree, an oak tree to the right here, always seems to have leaves. But here we are on this last quick little decline. You're in some more tansies, and then you got a little bit of rutted area there too. So on some rainier days, easy to get stuck there. But it's good to get as much momentum as you can coming around that corner and up that hill, because suddenly the bike seems to go so much slower somehow. So much slower heading up the hill. But I always liked to do this because this uphill section, I measured it on Strava one day. It's exactly a quarter of a mile up to the top of this peak, which is also a spear hiking trail, spur trail, which turns into the pavement, some pavement here. And then you've got exactly a quarter mile downhill, and alluding to a project I did earlier, if you want to check out a story map I did about Monte Perita in Puerto Rico. The gentleman who showed me around that area designed all of his mountain bike trails to have this very dramatic incline at the end and a very enjoyable decline for the very last moments. Of course, making this climb happens so much slower than the decline. Morningside Park is directly to my left, and the Park Hill Cemetery that we started off this trip on, currently on our right, was on our left. So we are looping around this cemetery essentially. We got a small little basketball hoop and some swings at the Morningside Park, and then a soccer field as well. Very poorly designed basketball court. You overshoot the court, and then it goes rolling down the hill into the soccer court. There are some interesting, very large gravestones to the right. But we get very near the top here, and always this last little section, even though it's probably the steepest, I always find myself picking up the pace a little bit at the end, because there's such sweet, sweet glory awaiting for the last final descent. This is Livingston Avenue, and Livingston Avenue, I have my next video that I'll do will start at the bottom of this hill and climb to the top of it from the opposite direction. So I'll have that for you shortly. Oh, but even though you get to the top, you don't want to take that break. Almost every time I'm here, I'm like, I got 2 minutes to get home. So I'm using the last little pumps of my momentum to start heading down the hill. If you look to the left there, we just went by Rose Street. That is a dramatic hill. It's very bumpy here, and you usually have to bike on the left-hand side because look how mucked up that right-hand traffic is. Right-hand. And right here, you got to be real careful. You got a yield sign. It's tempting to just cruise right through it. You got a little fence as you're looking to the left there, obstructing traffic. But yeah, this is it. This is the last home stretch. I'm going to come up here and take a right onto Oxford Street and wrap up right next to the Montessori School of Duluth once again. Very much appreciate you checking out my channel. Really love showing off these beautiful trails in Duluth, and I look forward to you stopping by for our next adventure. Montessori School of Duluth is, I guess, the only 501c that will be going by here. Just like to drop out some good places to donate to. There's the trip that we had today. Clock just under an hour. Oh, here we go. Montessori School of Duluth. Popping right there as I turn on to Maya. Thanks for joining just me. Hopefully we'll see you again on the next trip. Thanks to the University of Minnesota Duluth.